It is a Friday morning, and the direct deposit has just cleared into your checking account. You are sitting in your car, or perhaps at your kitchen island before the rest of the house wakes, staring at the screen of your phone. You have been looking forward for 2 weeks, mentally allocating the funds before they even arrived. You execute the plan exactly as you designed it. Transfer the mortgage. You pay the electricity and water bills. You send a fixed amount to your retirement account and another sum to a high-yield savings account designated for emergencies. You pay the car loan and the auto insurance. When the routine is finished, you look at the remaining balance, which is meant to cover groceries, gasoline, and perhaps a dinner out. For the next 14 days, the number staring back is alarmingly small. A quiet, heavy exhaustion washes over you. You are doing everything correctly. You track your expenses, you do not buy designer clothes, drive sensible, and you rarely take expensive vacations. Yet, the sensation is not wealth, but of perpetual, low-grade suffocation. You feel you are managing scarcity, rather than building abundance, and the sheer mental effort is becoming unsustainable. The reason for this exhaustion lies in a deeply ingrained cultural narrative about how ordinary people are supposed to achieve financial independence. We are told the foundation of wealth is living below your means. Adhering to a strict budget is championed as the ultimate financial virtue. Every failure is blamed on poor impulse control and lack of discipline. Every success is seen as the result of ruthlessly cutting expenses. This belief is sticky because it provides a profound sense of control. In a world of unpredictable markets and inflation, spreadsheets offer order. If you categorize every transaction and optimize the grocery bill, if you eliminate that weekly coffee, the math suggests inevitable prosperity. It implies that hard work and self-denial are always mathematically rewarded. However, this belief fundamentally misrepresents the physical limits of subtraction. Budgeting is a defensive mechanism necessary for survival but not growth. Defense is entirely incapable of scoring points or building significant wealth. You cannot shrink your way to wealth using frugality as your engine. Relying on extreme saving is a recipe for lifelong financial anxiety. To dismantle this illusion, we must look at the modern economy's structural constraints. Wealth is not just about willpower, it is bound by rigid, physical realities. The cost of existing has completely decoupled from median wage growth. Your fixed costs are not entirely under your individual control. Without public transportation, owning a car is a mandatory tax on earning. Healthcare premiums and deductibles operate as massive, unavoidable financial liabilities. Property taxes and insurance rise independently of your annual salary. When you budget toward wealth, you are fighting against a mathematical floor. You can only cut expenses to the baseline required for modern survival. Once you reach that baseline, discipline cannot generate more savings. Agonizing over a $20 purchase yields rapidly diminishing returns. Effort cannot override the reality that housing and healthcare consume your resources. These costs take the lion's share before you make a discretionary choice. Consider a household earning a solid, middle-class income of $95,000. On paper, this sounds like a foundation for comfortable wealth building. But when we apply physical constraints, the illusion of wealth shatters. After taxes and retirement contributions, take home pay shrinks to $5,500. Now apply the structural costs. A median mortgage consumes $2,200. Groceries and household necessities for a month cost another $800. Utilities, internet, and mobile phones require an additional $400. 2 cars for commuting and family transport consume another $900. The mandatory carrying cost of this ordinary life is $4,300. This leaves exactly $1,200 for everything else in your life. This margin must cover medical copays, home repairs, and new tires. If the water heater breaks, the entire monthly margin is obliterated. The family has not been irresponsible or extravagant in their spending. They are trapped in a structural vise where fixed costs prevent accumulation. Because this structural trap is rarely acknowledged, people misinterpret it as personal failure. This leads to a dangerous and exhausting misallocation of your mental energy. Families spend hours agonizing over streaming services or switching to generic cereal. They dedicate immense cognitive bandwidth to saving just $30 a month. believing this small-scale saving is the active process of building wealth. The frugality myth forces you to focus on pennies while ignoring the structure. The fatigue of this constant financial vigilance is immense and draining. You make hundreds of micro decisions only to see your net worth stall. This happens because the variables you manipulate are simply too small. You are trying to empty a massive swimming pool with a tiny teaspoon. The problem is not your technique, but a tool mismatched to the task. Optimizing a tiny remaining margin keeps you tethered to your current class. You remain unable to build the surplus necessary to finally break free. This reality requires a profound stage-based reframing of our financial strategies. Focus on budgeting and cutting costs is an early-stage survival tool. It is the financial equivalent of a medical tourniquet for your money. If you are drowning in debt, a strict budget is absolutely mandatory. Budgeting is merely the prerequisite for wealth, not the engine of it. Once you have stabilized and eliminated high-interest debt, frugality's utility drops. Squeezing more wealth from an already optimized budget is a waste of energy. Your strategy must completely shift from a defensive posture to offense. Stop asking how to spend $50 less, ask for $500 more. The usefulness of expense optimization depends entirely on your current stage. The only mathematical path to wealth is expanding your top-line income. Widen the gap between earning and the baseline of structural costs. Frugality has taken you as far as it can for your progress. Further progress requires increasing your market value and acquiring productive assets. The practical reality of ignoring this transition is highly predictable and deeply frustrating. When people use an early-stage tool for a late-stage problem, patterns break down. We see individuals who maintain a flawless spreadsheet for a year, enduring constant misery, saying no to every minor pleasure. Eventually, the capacity for deferred gratification runs out. Because the margin is tight, the reward for all this sacrifice is incredibly anticlimactic. They see $2,000 and realize it is not enough to change life, but the effort was exhausting. This inevitably leads to a phenomenon known as revenge spending. The psychological dam breaks, and the person finances a new car or expensive vacation. They do this because the human brain demands a reward for prolonged periods of stress. When the structural reality denies them that reward, they manufacture it through debt. This cycle of restriction and binge spending results from relying on a flawed strategy that ignores human nature and the heavy constraints of a fixed income. Living at the edge of your psychological limits without a financial breakthrough is impossible. Realizing you cannot shrink to prosperity is when you stop playing a rigged game and begin the actual work of building capital.